One of the things that scientists are concerned about is there are certain constants in the universe, and they're not sure they're constant. There's a great deal of concern that the constants of the universe are changing, and that's got everybody concerned. The velocity of light now is finally recognized as slowing down. We've said that for 20 years because of Barry Setterfield's landmark work. In the last 2 or 3 years, there have been reputable articles in reputable journals saying, by the way, the speed of light is slowing down. He was right after all. There are fundamental constants. There are many of them in the universe, and there are studies going on to see if they're changing. It's very hard to determine, but they're working very hard to see if they are changing. And there was an article in Scientific American in June of 2005 on this very subject. But one little phrase near the end of it leapt out at me that it just startled me. They believe that some of these constants may be changing, and if so, it implies that our physical universe is actually a mere shadow of a larger reality. That's their words, not mine. And I'm fascinated by that because that's what the Bible's been saying all along. We call it the spiritual world. It's not fuzzy, it's more real than the world we're in, but I won't start down that path just right now. But there are 2 key verses in the Bible on creation. Genesis 1:1, obviously, and John 1:1, right? They both speak of God creating the universe. If you're in science, in mathematics, whatever, there are 2 constants of the universe that have no dimensions. You see, a constant that has dimensions, like speed of light, can change, presumably. But a constant that has no dimensions can't change. Pi is not going to change because it is an intrinsic relationship to the geometry of a circle. You follow me? Well, there are 2 of these things. Pi, of course, is one of them. We just talked a little bit about that. There's another one you probably have not run into unless you've been in calculus or advanced math or advanced engineering. There's a thing called a natural logarithm. There are logarithms, but there's one particular one that's log to the base e that shows up everywhere in advanced mathematics. It's as familiar to a mathematician as pi is to a schoolboy. Okay? Well, let's take a look at Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. If you take the Hebrew of that out of Genesis 1:1, and you're going to do a strange thing I'm going to suggest. You're going to take the number of letters times the product of those letters, and you're going to divide it by the number of the words times the product of the words, recognizing that those alphabets have value. You can go through that arithmetic. If you do, it turns out you end up with pi to 4 decimal places. Now, if someone handed me a paper, this was when I was in mid-country in England, and I first sort of dismissed it, one of these, fringe kind of things. I looked at it, fine, it was polite. And on the plane back, though, I thought, I got to check this out. And I did. I built a little computer program in Excel to check the letters and stuff. Anyway, turns out it's true. That blew me away. I don't know what to do with that. It's too precise to ignore. But I'm not through. That's pi, of course. I don't know what to do with the 17 zeros, but let me go on here. John Napier was a mathematician in the end of the 16th century. He happened to be an activist for the Reformation and Protestant affairs in Scotland, but that's not why we have him here. He is the inventor or discoverer of logarithms. The natural or Napierian logarithm is named after him, log to the base e. He also was the first to use decimal point in fractions. In wave mechanics, you find e. In electrical theory, in advanced math, in distribution of prime numbers, it's defined by a limit. These are totally diverse applications. Everywhere you turn out, there's E, and E is 2.71828. Now, how they get it's not important. It's like pi. It's one of these weird numbers, but it's somehow intrinsic to our physical universe. Okay, so what? The other verse that's basic to creation is the New Testament verse. In the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. John 1:1. If you take that in the Greek and do the same thing I suggested before, take the number of letters times the product of letters and divide that by the number of words times the product of the words, you get E to 4 decimal places. Now, what do you do with that? I have no idea. This is one of these weird observations that doesn't prove anything exactly. But anyone that has a feeling for mathematics, it's stunning because you've got the fingerprint of the Creator here in the text. And the rabbis have a strange belief. Some of the rabbis have a view that not only did God create the universe, but the Torah was the template by which he did it. And when I first heard that, I thought it's a typical Jewish exaggeration. But after seeing this, I'm beginning to suspect they may be more correct than I had any idea.